I always believed that family was supposed to be your safe place. The people who protect you, who love you no matter what. My wife Harper, she is my whole world. When my parents invited us to their 40th wedding anniversary party, I thought it would be the perfect chance for her to finally bond with my family. I never imagined that one dinner would change everything. That one so-called prank would nearly take her life. Looking back now, I should have seen the signs. Before I continue, I would love to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop your location in the comments below. And, if stories about family betrayal and standing up for the people you love resonate with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you are going to want to stick around for this one. Because what my family called just a joke nearly cost me everything I hold dear. Growing up in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, pranks were not just occasional fun in my household. They were a way of life. My father, Gerald, worked as a mechanical engineer, but his true passion was being the neighborhood prankster. He took pride in it like it was some kind of legacy he needed to pass down. My mother, Donna, worked as a nurse for over 30 years. You would think someone in healthcare would understand boundaries, but she always laughed along with whatever my father did. She enabled him at every turn. When I was 8 years old, my father hid a fake spider in my lunchbox. I opened it in front of my entire third-grade class and screamed so loud that everyone started laughing. I cried for an hour. When I came home that day, still shaken, my father just ruffled my hair and said, "That is how we toughen you up, son." My mother smiled and told me I would look back on it and laugh someday. I never did. My older brother Kyle, 3 years ahead of me, inherited the prankster gene with enthusiasm. On my 16th birthday, I woke up excited because my parents had promised me a used car. I walked outside, and the driveway was empty. Kyle had convinced a friend to help him hide the car 2 blocks away. I spent 45 minutes thinking someone had stolen my birthday gift, while my entire family watched from the window laughing hysterically. When they finally told me the truth, they expected me to join in the laughter. I did not. Then there was my younger sister Kristen, 4 years behind me. She was subtler but no less cruel. The night before my senior prom, she put blue dye in my shampoo. I showed up to pick up my date with blue streaks in my hair that would not wash out. Everyone at school talked about it for weeks. My family thought it was the funniest thing they had ever seen. "That is just how we show love," my parents would say whenever I complained. "You are too sensitive, Brad. Learn to take a joke." So I learned to keep my mouth shut. I learned to fake laugh. I learned to survive. Everything changed when I met Harper. I was 27, working as an accountant at a mid-sized firm in Cincinnati. One October afternoon, I stopped at a coffee shop near my office, and there she was, brown wavy hair that caught the autumn light through the window. A smile so warm it made the whole room feel smaller, cozier. She was grading papers at a corner table, red pen in hand, completely absorbed in her work. I do not know what came over me, but I walked up and introduced myself. She looked up with those kind eyes and told me her name was Harper. She had just moved from Portland, Oregon to teach 3rd grade at a local elementary school. We talked for 2 hours that day. By the time the coffee shop closed, I knew I wanted to see her again. Our first real date was a walk along the Ohio River on a crisp November evening. Leaves crunched under our feet, and Harper told me about her childhood. Her parents divorced when she was 12. Her father disappeared shortly after leaving her mother to raise her alone. Harper grew up craving stability, peace, and genuine connection. She hated drama and conflict. She valued honesty above almost everything else. On our 3rd date, over dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant, Harper told me something important. She set down her fork, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I need you to know something about me. I have a severe peanut allergy. Like life-threatening severe. I have had to use an EpiPen twice in my life, and both times I ended up in the hospital." I reached across the table and took her hand. I promised her right then that I would always be careful, that I would always protect her. She smiled, and I saw tears forming in the corners of her eyes. She told me that some people in her past had not taken it seriously, that she had been mocked for being too dramatic about it. I swore I would never be one of those people. After 2 years of dating, I proposed to Harper on the same riverbank where we had our first date. She said yes before I even finished asking. Our wedding was small and intimate, held at the Botanical Garden in Cincinnati with only close friends and a few family members. It was perfect. It was peaceful. It was everything Harper had always wanted. My family came to the wedding, of course. But I could tell from the beginning that they did not approve of Harper. She was too quiet for them, too serious. She did not laugh at their jokes or participate in their pranks. The first time I brought Harper home for Thanksgiving, about 6 months into our relationship, my brother Kyle hid a fake cockroach in her napkin. When she unfolded it at the dinner table, she gasped and nearly knocked over her wine glass. The whole table erupted in laughter. I watched Harper force a smile, her hands trembling slightly as she set the napkin aside. "Welcome to the family," my father bellowed, raising his glass. After that, the pranks kept coming. Kristen once switched the sugar for salt in Harper's coffee. My mother watched her take a sip and gag, then burst out laughing like it was the funniest thing she had ever seen. Kyle once pretended there was a snake in the guest bathroom right after Harper went in. She screamed so loud that the neighbors probably heard. My father thought it would be hilarious to hide her car keys during one visit. Harper spent 30 minutes searching frantically while everyone watched, barely containing their amusement. Every single time I spoke up, "Guys, she does not like pranks. Can you please stop?" Their responses were always the same. "She needs to loosen up. She is way too sensitive. It is just a joke, Brad. What is the big deal?" My mother even pulled me aside once and said, "Maybe she is just not right for our family, honey." That comment stung more than I let on. But I loved Harper, and I was not going to let my family drive her away. I told them about her peanut allergy repeatedly. Not once, not twice, but probably a dozen times over the years. I even gave my mother a written list of foods to avoid when cooking for family gatherings. I explained how serious it was, how even a small amount could send Harper into anaphylactic shock. My brother Kyle once rolled his eyes and said, "Is that allergy thing even real? People exaggerate so much these days." I should have known then. I should have seen the warning signs. But I wanted so badly to believe that my family would never cross that line, that when it came to something truly dangerous, they would know better. I was wrong. The invitation arrived in early May. My parents were celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary, and they wanted the whole family together for a big party at their house in Ohio. Donna had been planning it for months, reaching out to old friends and distant relatives. It was supposed to be a celebration of 4 decades of love and commitment. Harper was nervous from the moment I showed her the invitation. She sat on our couch, turning the card over in her hands, her brow furrowed. "I just hope they do not do anything weird this time," she said quietly. I sat down beside her and took her hand. "I have told them about your allergy so many times. They would not cross that line. I really believe that." She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Still, she agreed to go. For me. Because she knew how much family meant to me, even when that family made things difficult. The week before the party, I called my mother to go over everything one more time. I reminded her about the peanut allergy. I listed specific ingredients to avoid. I asked her to check every label, every recipe. "Do not worry, honey," my mother said in that reassuring voice of hers. "I have made sure everything is peanut-free. Harper will be completely safe." I believed her. I trusted her. On the day of the party, Harper and I made the 2-hour drive from Cincinnati to my parents' house. Harper brought 2 EpiPens in her purse just in case. She always carried them, but that day she double-checked them multiple times before we left. The house looked beautiful when we arrived. Balloons and streamers everywhere. A big banner over the front door that read, "40 years of love" in golden letters. Cars lined the street, and I could hear laughter and music coming from the backyard. My father greeted us at the door with a bear hug. He shook Harper's hand and actually seemed warm toward her, which surprised me. Maybe things were finally changing, I thought. Maybe they were finally going to accept her. Inside, the house was packed with relatives and old family friends. My mother was in her element, playing hostess, making sure everyone had drinks and appetizers. Kristen was helping in the kitchen, and Kyle was out back manning the grill. Harper did her best to mingle. I watched her make small talk with my aunt, compliment my mother on the decorations, even laugh at one of my father's corny jokes. She was trying so hard. I loved her even more for it. About an hour in, I noticed something strange. Kyle and Kristen were huddled together in a corner of the kitchen, whispering and giggling. When I walked over to grab a drink, they immediately went quiet. "What are you two up to?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "Nothing," Kyle said with a smirk. "Just family stuff." I felt a flicker of unease, but I pushed it aside. It was probably nothing, just my paranoia acting up. Dinner was served around 6. The main course was roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a big Caesar salad. I checked every dish before Harper ate. No peanuts, no peanut oil. Everything looked safe. Harper started to relax. I could see the tension leaving her shoulders as she ate and chatted with the people around her. My father gave a toast to my mother, talking about 40 years of partnership and love. Everyone raised their glasses. It felt like a real celebration. Then came dessert. Kristen emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray of homemade brownies. They looked delicious, rich and chocolatey, arranged in neat rows on a white ceramic plate. She walked straight to Harper and held out the tray with a smile. "I made these especially for you, Harper," Kristen said sweetly. "I remembered how much you love chocolate." Harper's face lit up. "That is so thoughtful of you, Kristen. Thank you." She took a brownie from the tray, a big one right from the center. I watched, feeling a strange warmth in my chest. Maybe Kristen was finally coming around. Maybe this was her way of extending an olive branch. Harper took a large bite and chewed, slowly savoring it. She nodded appreciatively. "This is really good," she said. I glanced across the room and noticed Kyle and Kristen exchange a look. They were both suppressing smiles, their shoulders shaking slightly with contained laughter. My father was watching too, a strange glint in his eye. The warmth in my chest turned to ice. "What did you put in that brownie?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the chatter. Kristen could not hold it in anymore. She burst out laughing. "Relax," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "It is just a little peanut butter. We wanted to see if her allergy is even real. Everyone exaggerates these days." The room went silent. I turned to Harper. She had stopped chewing. Her hand moved slowly to her throat. "Brad," she whispered, I cannot breathe." Her lips were already starting to swell. Red blotches appeared on her neck, spreading rapidly. Her eyes went wide with panic. "Where is your EpiPen?" I screamed, lunging for her purse. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open the clasp. I found the EpiPen and ripped off the cap. Harper was gasping now, each breath a horrible wheezing sound that I will never forget as long as I live. I jabbed the EpiPen into her thigh and held it there, counting the seconds. Her breathing did not improve. If anything, it got worse. I grabbed the second EpiPen and administered it. "Someone call 911, I shouted. Now I heard my mother's voice, high and hysterical. "Oh my God. Oh my God." I heard Kristen crying. I did not think. I did not know. I did not look at any of them. I could not. All I could see was Harper, my Harper, struggling to breathe, her face swelling, her body fighting against itself. I held her in my arms and talked to her, trying to keep her conscious. "Stay with me, baby. Help is coming. Just stay with me." The ambulance arrived 11 minutes later. 11 minutes that felt like 11 hours. The paramedics rushed in with their equipment, put an oxygen mask on Harper, started an IV line. They lifted her onto a stretcher. As they wheeled her toward the door, I followed, never letting go of her hand. At the threshold, I stopped and turned around. My entire family was standing there. My father pale as a ghost. My mother, tears streaming down her face. Kyle frozen in place. Kristen sobbing uncontrollably. I looked at each of them in turn. I did not say a word. I did not have to. Then I turned and followed my wife into the ambulance. The hospital waiting room became my entire world for the next 8 hours. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The smell of antiseptic burned my nostrils. I sat in a hard plastic chair, elbows on my knees, staring at the linoleum floor. Around 2 in the morning, a doctor finally came out to speak with me. He told me Harper was stable. The anaphylactic reaction had been severe, one of the worst he had seen in his career. If I had not administered the EpiPens when I did, if the ambulance had been even a few minutes later, she might not have made it. "She is very lucky," the doctor said. "And so are you. Lucky." The word felt like a cruel joke. They let me see her around 3 a.m. She was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, an IV drip in her arm. Her face was still slightly swollen, her eyes red and exhausted, but she was alive. I pulled a chair up to her bedside and took her hand in mine. I did not trust myself to speak. She looked at me with those beautiful eyes now filled with pain and confusion. "They really did that to me," she whispered. "Your family really tried to poison me." I could not hold back the tears anymore. They rolled down my face as I brought her hand to my lips. "I am so sorry," I said, my voice breaking. I should have protected you better. I should have known. It is not your fault, she said softly. But Brad, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be around them ever again. I nodded. You will not have to. I promise you that. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since I arrived at the hospital. I finally looked at it. 37 missed calls. 52 text messages. Honey, how is she? We are so worried. That was from my mother. Brad, I am so sorry. Please call me. That was from Kristen. Hey man, we need to talk about this. From Kyle. And from my father, just one message. Call me. I turned off my phone and shoved it back in my pocket. Harper fell asleep, holding my hand. I sat there in the dark, listening to the steady beep of her heart monitor, and I made a decision. A decision that would change the course of my life forever. The next morning around 10, I heard voices in the hallway outside Harper's room. Familiar voices. My stomach tightened into a knot. The door opened and there they were. All four of them. My father, my mother, my brother, my sister. They were carrying flowers and balloons with "Get Well Soon" printed on them, as if that could somehow make up for what they had done. I stood up, slowly, positioning myself between them and Harper's bed. Son, my father, started, his voice uncharacteristically soft. We came to see how she is doing. We are all so sorry about what happened. I held up my hand to stop him. Do not, I said. Do not you dare say it was just a joke. Kristen stepped forward, her face streaked with tears. Brad, please. I did not know it was that serious. I thought she was exaggerating like people do. I never meant for this to happen. I looked at her, this woman I had known my entire life, and I felt nothing but cold rage. I told you, I said, my voice steady despite the fury burning in my chest. I told all of you, 100 times. I gave you lists. I begged you to be careful. And you decided to test whether my wife's life-threatening allergy was real. As a joke. Kyle shifted uncomfortably. Brad, come on, man. We can work this out. We are family. Family, I repeated the word like it was poison. Family is supposed to protect each other. Family is supposed to care about each other's well-being. What you did was not family. What you did was attempted murder. My mother gasped. Bradley, that is not fair. We never intended. I cut her off. You watched me beg you for years to take this seriously. You rolled your eyes. You called her dramatic. You called her too sensitive. And then you deliberately fed her peanuts to prove a point, while 30 of your closest friends watched. My father's face had turned red. Now listen here, he said, his voice hardening. I understand you are upset, but this is getting out of hand. We made a mistake, a bad one. But we are still your family, and you do not get to speak to us this way. Something inside me snapped. No, I said. You do not get to play the family card anymore. Not after this. Harper almost died last night. She was minutes away from death because of a prank, because you could not respect one simple boundary. Bradley, my mother pleaded, reaching for my arm. We love you. Please. We can get past this. I stepped back out of her reach. You know what I said, my voice surprisingly calm now. You are right about one thing. Family is supposed to love each other. Family is supposed to show up when it matters. But you have spent my entire life humiliating me, mocking my wife, and ignoring every boundary I have ever set. That is not love. That is abuse. Kristen was sobbing now. I said I was sorry. What more do you want? I want you to leave, I said. I want all of you to leave. And I want you to understand that as of this moment, you are no longer my family. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. My mother collapsed against my father, wailing. You cannot do this. We are your blood. I am your mother. Blood does not give you the right to hurt the people I love, I said. Blood does not give you permission to nearly kill my wife for entertainment. I looked at my father. He was staring at me with an expression I had never seen before. Shock, maybe. Or perhaps it was the realization that his kingdom of pranks had finally crumbled. I looked at Kyle. He was pale, his earlier smirk completely gone. I looked at Kristen, who was reaching out to hug me. I stepped back. You nearly killed her, I said to my sister. I will never forgive you for that. Never. Then I turned to all of them one final time. Do not call me. Do not text me. Do not show up at my house. Do not contact Harper. We are done. This family is done. And then I walked back into Harper's room and closed the door. I could hear my mother crying in the hallway. I could hear my father trying to calm her down. I could hear their footsteps eventually retreating. I sat down next to Harper's bed. She was awake, watching me with tears in her eyes. "What happened out there?" she asked. I took her hand and squeezed it gently. "I chose you," I said, "and I will always choose you." 2 days later, I went to the police station and filed a report. What Kristen did was not just a prank. It was reckless endangerment. It was assault. The district attorney agreed. Kristen was charged with causing serious bodily harm. My family was furious. They called me a traitor. They said I was destroying Kristen's life. They begged me to drop the charges. I did not. Actions have consequences. That is a lesson my family never learned, but Kristen was about to learn it the hard way. The first few weeks after the incident were the hardest of my life. Harper came home from the hospital after 3 days, physically healed but emotionally shattered. She had nightmares almost every night, waking up gasping for air, convinced she was suffocating all over again. I took 2 weeks off work to be with her. We barely left our apartment. We watched movies, cooked simple meals together, and slowly, carefully began to process what had happened. I could not sleep most nights. Guilt ate at me like acid. I kept replaying every moment, every decision. Should I have been more forceful with my family? Should I have refused to attend the party? Should I have checked every single item of food myself? Harper saw me struggling. One night she took my face in her hands and looked directly into my eyes. "Stop blaming yourself," she said firmly. "You did everything right. You saved my life. You chose me when it mattered most." Those words helped, but the healing was slow. My family did not stop trying to contact me. Every day brought new messages, new voicemails, new letters left at our door. I blocked their numbers, but they created new ones. I marked their emails as spam, but they found new email addresses. One letter from my father was 3 pages long. He wrote about how sorry he was, how he had learned his lesson, how he just wanted a chance to make things right. He asked me to meet him for coffee, just the two of us, to talk things through. I read the letter twice, then I put it in a drawer and never responded. Harper and I started seeing a therapist together about a month after the incident. Dr. Simmons was a patient woman in her early 50s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense approach. She helped us talk through the trauma, understand our feelings, and develop strategies for moving forward. Harper was diagnosed with mild PTSD. Certain triggers, the smell of chocolate, the sound of laughter at a party, would send her spiraling into panic. It took months of work to get those reactions under control, but we did the work, together. We also started building a new support system. Harper's mother flew in from Portland and stayed with us for 3 weeks. She was everything my mother was not: warm, supportive, and genuinely concerned about her daughter's well-being. We started doing weekly video calls with Harper's extended family on the West Coast. We made friends with our neighbors, an older couple named Frank and Betty Wilson. They were in their early 70s, retired teachers who had never had children of their own. They adopted us like grandchildren, inviting us over for Sunday dinners, sharing stories from their travels, offering wisdom without judgment. I realized something profound during those months. Family is not just blood. Family is the people who show up for you. Family is the people who respect your boundaries and put your well-being above their own entertainment. 6 months after the incident, Harper returned to teaching. I watched her walk out the door that first morning, her head held high, her shoulders squared. She turned back and smiled at me. "I am going to be okay," she said. "We are going to be okay." And I believed her. Around that same time, I heard through a distant cousin that Kristen had been sentenced to community service and mandatory counseling as part of a plea deal. She had lost her job and was having trouble finding new employment. My parents had stopped hosting family gatherings entirely. Kyle's wife had filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Apparently, she had always hated the prank culture but had been too afraid to speak up. One evening, about 8 months after everything happened, Harper and I were sitting on our small balcony watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air was warm with the promise of summer. "Do you ever miss them?" Harper asked quietly. I thought about it for a long moment. "I miss who I wished they were," I said finally. "I miss the family I always wanted but never actually had." She leaned her head against my shoulder. "Maybe someday things will change," she said. Maybe, I agreed. But I am not waiting around for it. I have everything I need right here." She smiled and laced her fingers through mine. "I have learned some important lessons from everything that happened. Lessons I wish I had understood years ago. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is self-respect. When someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, they are telling you exactly how much they value you. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I can forgive my family and my heart in time without ever letting them back into my life. Forgiveness is for my own peace, not for their redemption. The people who truly love you will never put a joke above your safety. Love does not humiliate. Love does not endanger. Love protects. And finally, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Walk away from toxicity even when it wears the mask of family tradition. Walk away from people who refuse to change even when they share your blood. I do not know what the future holds. Maybe years from now things will be different. Maybe my family will genuinely change, genuinely understand the gravity of what they did. Maybe there will be a path to some kind of relationship, but that is not my responsibility to create. My responsibility is to protect my wife, build a healthy life, and surround myself with people who treat us with respect and kindness. And right now, sitting here with Harper as the stars begin to appear, I know I made the right choice. Some people will call you cruel for setting boundaries. Some people will say you are unforgiving, that you should give family infinite chances. But the cruelest thing is to let those you love be harmed for the sake of keeping peace. The cruelest thing is to sacrifice someone's safety on the altar of family loyalty. I chose my wife. I chose peace. I chose a life free from the anxiety of wondering what prank would come next. And that is more than enough. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever had to cut someone out of your life to protect yourself or someone you love? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I would love to hear your stories. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And if you are not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another story. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. I hope wherever you are tonight, you are surrounded by people who truly love and respect you. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.